let me just say hello to everybody here. Thank you to all our guests for coming down. We have Age of Tanks with us. Neo is here from Age of Tanks. Neo.
Hi
Hello.
everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Neo. I'm the founder and CEO of Age of Tanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks Neo for coming down. We have Stark over here. Stark from Mystic Scholars, right?
Yeah, from POG, I am partnered with Mystic. Yeah, been
Yes.
an Axie since June, and I manage around 350 scholars.
Very interesting. And we have Solthos here as well. Solthos.
Hi everybody. Yeah, so I'm a content creator for NFT games. You can find me at youtube.com/Solthos.
Yeah, I follow his channel also. Likewise, I'm also a small-time content creator. And last but not least, we have Axie Queen.
Hey, yeah, I'm Axie Queen. I'm a glitch in the Metaverse going from NFT gaming to NFT art. And I release content when I like it.
Yes, I feel you. Yes, I too am like that. Yeah, I wanna release content when I feel like it. But sometimes the algorithm kind of pushes you to get it out there and yeah, try your best. So thank you all of you for coming down here. Just want to say hi to the community here that's joining us. NFT 11 people from all of our different guests community here. Welcome. We're here to learn a little bit about mechanics out there in the GameFi space, loaning mechanics, asset loaning mechanics, scholarship programs, partnership programs, whatever you call it. We want to hear it. We want some awesome ideas. We want to hear your opinions, your thoughts, your ideas on this space. It's a very new space. There's a lot that we can learn from this space. And yeah, we're just here to share and learn. Thank you everyone for being here. Chance, would you like to say something to the community here?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Chance, the CMO of NFT 11. So this whole scholarship asset loaning thing, I think we all can agree that in the GameFi space it is imperative. I mean, it is one of the success of a GameFi space, right? And I think when I first saw this quote scholarship program, right, I realized that it creates a very new dynamic. Prior to this, when we were playing games, it was very linear. There's only one type of player. You can only be the player of the game, but there's not much other varieties, different ways that you play. But then when I first saw the scholarship happening in Axie Infinity, right, then I realized that it's actually possible for a game to have multiple layers of players. So what do I mean by that? It's like there is your base game, right? That's for Axie Infinity, for example. There's your base game that you're playing, and then you earn the currency from there. But then after with the scholarship program, that it created a new class of player called the managers. So the managers might not necessarily want or have the time to play the game itself, but they can. To them, the fun comes in managing a team of people or building a community that will help them play the game as well. So that creates a secondary tier of player. And then when it comes to breeding and selling your different assets, that's also another different tier of player. So I thought that this is very new in terms of gaming industries. That inside one ecosystem of a game, you can have multiple different kinds of players that add to the whole ecosystem and becomes bigger. And it's not so linear anymore. It's not like I'm just doing my own things. It's about everybody affects everybody.
Yeah, see, once again, it kind of falls back to community.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the whole decentralized. I mean, that's the spirit of decentralized exchanges or cryptocurrency or GameFi, right? And it's all about the game can only succeed with the community.
Exactly. So, Neil, maybe you can share with us. I'm sure Age of Tanks has some form of asset loaning system as well, or a kind of scholarship program. Can you speak more about that?
Oh, of course. When our full game launch is live, we do have the usuals, the scholarship program, the loaning program. We even have a renting mechanism because of different battles. You need 7 tanks to participate in some competition. You might only have 6. You need to rent one. So we can do a one-day thingy. It's all possible. However, I feel we should look slightly beyond that. Like I say, recently I'm very hit by this 1.0 and 2.0 of GameFi. 1.0 meaning what? Like Axis, this is the classic example. You buy NFT, you play. After you get enough matches in your belt or you win enough matches, you earn some coin and you sell the coin and you put food on the table. So this is GameFi 1.0. It's great. It pulled us out of the last bear, but times is changing every day, especially in the crypto scene. I mean, it's amazing and how much talented people is coming into the scene. So 2.0 will be shifting the focus from just buying NFT and just be it playing or staking to earn the coins and to sell it, because on the long run, this is not so sustainable.
Yes.
The shift will be towards the actual value of the NFT itself inside the game or inside the metaverse or inside the whole Web3. So this would help preserve and increase the floor price of that particular NFT, which is also profits, but it is not so vigorous on the market making side of the token, which in the end will bring back more good news to the community. So with that, we must also understand that after the success of Axis, one big reason was YGG, which a lot of people did not talk about it. I mean the both of them kind of made each other big, like
Right.
the biggest boys.
Yeah, they grew
So
together. Yeah.
I see scholarships right now as a layer one. They are the key opinion leaders. They are the community leaders. People with the real community under their belt. For example, KOLs, big KOLs, or just community managers, scholars managers, or even you. So they have the players, they have the scholars. So they are like the layer one, and we GameFi protocols are like the layer two, layer zero.
Right.
So I foresee the future would be GameFis like us working with many guilds or bodies like this, and we design something to suit their need.
Exactly.
And the more partnership we can make like this, it will bring back more good benefits to the entire game and community itself. And
Exactly.
this is what we are doing. So we are partnered with GGG, MGG, Unix, Meta One, PathDAO, and many more.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly what is happening right now. Us coming together here in this space, having this discussion. Hearing from people with actual experience. Speaking of which, Axie Queen, hi. So Axie Queen, yes, you have a group of followers here as well, and I believe that it's community managers such as yourself who will give us that insight on your loaning mechanics and what works in the GameFi. So Axie Queen, could you perhaps share with us something that you really like seeing in maybe use a game as a case example, but yeah, share with us something that you really like about the asset loaning system.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me again, Axie Queen. So I'd like to thank you again, first of all, Jeremy and Nom, for inviting me
Pleasure to
to
have you.
in this beautiful space. And this is where I always want to be involved in. Builders like you and Age of Tanks, Tanks and Solthos that look out for the future of the economy. A lot of these games, they have the intention of just easy cash in, easy cash out, times 5, times 10.
That's right.
Whatever they think is their perception of success is based on monetary gain. And this is where I come in. Actually, ever since I became community manager and head of culture for Axie Tech, I've been managing over 1,000 scholars
Wow.
from their program. And it's on a daily that I get to be reminded on how important we are for the economy of GameFi and the future. And it actually shows how much impact people from another side of the world can come together, because in the metaverse distance doesn't matter. And what becomes our partner's problem becomes our problem. And that's what I do on a daily basis. And yeah, I think to go back to our topic, cuts are very important to be talked about. This is why these spaces matter so much
Yep.
in each game.
Open,
And I think-
honest communication, fairness.
Right.
Yep.
and to admit and acknowledge
Yeah,
that we are not here without the partners or the scholars or the
Exactly.
people that play the game, and not dismiss them as something that is,
just a
something that
commodity or somebody to
yeah,
help you churn out passive income, right?
exactly, because
Yeah.
these are the players that talk about the game on Twitter.
Exactly.
They talk about the game on Facebook, and
Yeah.
they would stream if they like it.
Yeah, they're passionate
So
about it.
yeah, it's just amazing how I give props to NFT 11 because you guys, I could see that you guys and your team are focusing on that fun side of the game. You guys haven't, you guys are taking your time and making sure that everything is perfect, that there's not much, FUD over the
Exactly.
project, because it's just made out of the passion for it. Keep on doing what you're doing. I'm a big fan,
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
I just can't wait to see the next steps for you guys. What's your plan for your, like, what are the different lending mechanics that NFT 11's thinking about?
So we're gonna get into that a little later, but I think I can share one first, which is quite an important mechanic. Fixed profit sharing, because as you mentioned, there are unfortunately some managers out there who kind of exploit, their partners and their scholarship members, and I think having a fixed price that you can rest assured be guaranteed at the end. I think that's extremely important, and to be able to pick out whatever you're comfortable with, I think that's key. So one of the key things that we're gonna have is that if you choose to loan out an individual player, right, the person who's loaning out the asset, we'll call them the loaner, right? So the loaner will actually fix a certain percentage of how much of that profit share is off of this particular player, and so that way scholars who or asset renters who wish to come in and rent this asset are assured that they're going to get a specific cut, and that's not going to change. There's not going to be a sudden shift in sentiments because the market goes down or anything like that. It's set, it's a contract, and yeah, I think that's actually quite an important part of it. Wouldn't you agree?
That sounds amazing.
Great. So let's hear from our other panels as well. Stark, you are also a big time community manager. How has it been so far? What kind of mechanics do you like seeing?
Hi, yeah. So I guess the mechanics. Yeah, I was gonna quickly introduce myself first, I guess, and like how I got into it.
Oh, please,
very
go
briefly, I
ahead.
guess.
Yes.
And so I started in June, and I just bought 3 Axies and started playing, and then liked the idea of breeding and also getting scholars. And then I was in front of the problem of how do you even pick your scholars, because there was so many people in June and July looking for scholarships. So I actually started my first few scholars by hosting some art contests on Twitter.
Cool.
So and stuff like that's how I got a lot of them, and then just value add people, because now it's a bit less the case, but back then you had so much choice. You had to find people who were bringing something to the table without, of course, it leading to exploitation, which happens a lot in the space, but rewarding them well once they join the team. There's actually quite a few of my team members in the chat. Ghost, most notably, who's listening in right now. He's my right hand guy, helping me manage the scholarship. He's Filipino. He was my 10th scholar, and now I was fortunate enough to be in a position where he was able to quit his job, and now I pay him a full-time salary in US dollars to help me manage my scholars. And there's also Hioya, who's at the bottom there, he just redid the profile picture you just saw. He did that in an hour.
Right.
And so you find, that's what I find beautiful about the scholarships, the model and all of that, is that it's actually able to link you up with people who are just hungry to add value to an ecosystem or to a community. And it can be a wonderful two-way avenue you provide them with assets, and then they just make your world so much better by being involved in it.
Exactly.
And
Passionate individuals.
just to, exactly, and so it's obviously this all depends how it's done, because this can also lead to, this is why there's a lot of exploitation. It's because a lot of people are just desperate to show what they're capable of, and if the person holding the assets is not well intentioned, things can go wrong. And I think the worst thing that can happen, other than the cuts, is also just not being paid, people who just get blocked. So I think that, just to touch on the best mechanic so far, is I really liked, I'm not personally invested in Pickaxie, but I really like the fact that the scholarships or the lending model was on the blockchain. And I think that for any project going forward that wants to do this, this has to be a part of it. The different lending models have to be through smart contracts, so that no one gets rugged. And as you said, that they know what they're signing up for before it even begins. And then there's a lot of little things that can be tweaked there. What are the different models we offer? And all of that can be done differently, and everyone can have different ideas. But I think that has to be at the core of it. Something that Axie, I think, now is trying to do, but it's hard to do on a running machine. But if you're starting something from scratch, I think that that's important to put forward.
Exactly, and I think that's that's one of the luxuries NFT 11 as well as Age of Tanks has here, because we of course we've seen what Axie has done, but it's about learning what we can do better. And yeah, like I mentioned, I think one of the most important things is that blockchain. I remember speaking to Chance about this as well, when we first addressed the idea of loaning mechanics and scholarship systems. It has to be on the blockchain. It's fair that way. There's not going to be managers who just decide to run and block them off. If everything's done on the blockchain, that's the agreement at the start, then you're safe in that sense. You're protected. Thank you so much for that stuff.
Sorry.
Chance. Yes.
Yeah, just to add on this note, as you guys said, we are kind of at advantage in the sense that this scholarship and asset loaning is, I don't believe it was something that Axie Infinity they had in their when they launched the game. I felt that this scholarship program or this asset loaning thing was birthed by the community itself. It was so pioneering that everybody was going crazy over it, and it became like a wild west, that anyone can give out a certain amount of percentage, anyone can give a 70-30 percentage or 50-50 split and all this kind of stuff. So there wasn't much regulation in that sense. The game itself, or at least the Sky Metis themselves, did not really, how to say, regulate that. It's not integrated into the game itself, but it became an integral part of their success, which now is what they are managing now, and it causes the SLP price to drop nowadays. So for games like us, going into GameFi 2.0, as Neil has mentioned, we are at the advantage of integrating the scholarship or the asset loaning portion into the game itself, and that's why we need to have this kind of discussions to kind of see what has already been happening, and then to see, like as Stark mentioned, putting it on the blockchain so that it's transparent and it reduces the chances of exploitations. Yeah, so this is just a few things that I was thinking of while you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. Exactly, and it goes back to the community, and I think Solthos can touch a little bit on this, right? As a content creator, and as Solthos, I'm sure you manage a couple of scholars as well, right?
Yeah, I have a little bit of scholars, like just a few, but I think my perspective is more on someone who is looking for new games, and someone that is always like investing small amounts of money into some projects that I believe in. So I think aside from the other people in the panel, I bring like a different perspective into the space, instead of like someone who's maybe handling a large amount of scholars, or someone that's developing a game like Age of Tanks, right? So like for me, I've seen a bunch of these other GameFi projects and a bunch of all these different games, and how each of them addresses a particular problem, or a particular like this well, I'm not saying scholarships are a problem, but I'm saying scholarships, I think right now, because of the popularity of Axie Infinity, everybody is trying to do something similar to it, which means that because as a GameFi project, you have to balance both a good game and a good financial system,
That's right.
which I think a lot of people weren't ready for scholarships, which could lead to oversupply of a particular token, which will lead to a crash, which is what happened to both Axie and Axie.
Yeah.
So the best solution I've seen so far, albeit it's on a smaller scale right now, is by a game called Krabada under the Avalanche network.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys don't know, Avalanche also is similar to Ethereum, where they can do similar to like a layer 2, which they call subnets. And in that subnets, you can choose what particular token you are burning for gas. So what they're doing is their SLP equivalent, which is called TUS or Treasure Under Sea, that's what they are using as a burning mechanic for all their transactions. Well,
see.
that's what they're planning to do in the future at least. But
Right.
right now, what they're doing, because Krabada is very similar to Axie Infinity, where the gameplay is the same, and mostly the burning mechanic is from breeding and from making new players, like in the case of NFT 11. So what they're doing is they're adding more burn mechanics in between particular actions. So for example, if you are breeding, of course there's a breeding fee. Percentage of that breeding fee will be burned. In their marketplace, which is just on their special NFT marketplace, you can only buy their NFTs with TUS. So you're forced to use their local currency to buy other NFTs. And there's also a marketplace fee, which also burns their TUS. And eventually in the future, when they do implement their new network, they will be burning TUS through all transactions you're doing on their blockchain. So I agree with Stark in terms of like all the smart contracts for these scholars should be all the loaning mechanics should be a smart contract for the
On-chain.
protection. Yeah, on chain for the protection of all the scholars. So I think it's good to pull a bunch of these new ideas from different projects and implement them to our own, because right now the GameFi space is so wide and there's so many different projects that everybody is bound to come up with at least one good idea.
Yeah.
So instead of just being a clone of a game, it's good to pull all these like new ideas, new concepts, and try to implement them to our own, because I've seen so many crashes because they weren't able to sustain their economy by either giving too many benefits in the beginning, like crypto blades,
Right.
and then they it's what they call a soft rug, right? The project dies
Kind
out,
of dies off, right? Yeah.
and then they lose support for the project.
Right.
So I like how NFT 11 is slowly building their base,
Yeah, the
instead of
foundation.
trying to bombard it with like an artificial inflation of new players or new fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've seen all these different games. Everybody takes a different approach. Like I've also seen Legends of Venari, how they built their base is also pretty interesting, which is they've partnered with big guilds to bring in a lot of these new scholars into the game, even before they've implemented their scholarship systems.
Right. Yeah. So exactly, I think that we are in a very prime space. I think Stark wanted to say something just now. Stark, did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. I just wanted to add another thing, because there's for the scholarships that are done through smart contracts. It's not just the fact that it's more transparent. It also allows for more clear ownership from the scholars themselves. So there's a lot of talk about, especially around PegAxie, there was a lot of talk about burn mechanisms. The fact that it's through the blockchain and the scholar is lent the assets on their wallet, but it's retrievable at some point by the owner, means that achievements can be unlocked by the scholar. Because right now, they are on Axie, they're on an account that doesn't belong to them. The password can get changed, and everything they've done. Let's say you add things that they can burn SLP and change the skin of their cards or change the background of the game. All of these things, burn mechanisms that we're bringing in, are just not possible if the scholar doesn't have ownership over his account. So you can have the ownership of the account and be lent the assets, and there's a lot to learn from that. And this is why I'm still like following what they're doing, even though the tokens have fallen down a lot, because I believe that they've brought a lot of new elements to the space. Even though a lot of people are saying they tried to just copy Axie, I believe that they did a lot of things on top of it and better.
Right.
And so I'm watching that space to see what other decisions they can come up with.
I'm gonna go ahead and say inspired, maybe not copy. You know, I think to some extent all of us were inspired by Axie and what they brought, you know, to the GameFi space.
Yeah, sorry, just to add on what Stark has mentioned, I think it's very interesting that sharing a little bit about the achievement. So yeah, I agree that the scholarship that I'm familiar with in Axie Infinity is that you loan out the entire account, but the account does not belong to the scholars. So everything they earn from the game is just it's not intrinsic. It's just very superficial. It's not all about earning the SLPs, right? Or earning, but they don't have the ownership to the game. But when we're thinking about NFT 11, it's slightly different in the sense that we don't want scholars to just come in and play the game. We want people who wants to play NFT 11. They form their club and they loan individual players into the club. So the achievement still comes with the club.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the whole point is that, you know, they pour in their heart and soul to this game, and they deserve some kind of reward to it, achievement to it, and it rightfully belongs to them. You know?